In the playoffs, everything that players do get amplified a ton because it's the biggest stage in the game and more people than ever are watching. The top players in the league have a set of expectations when these games roll around, and if they don't perform how they're expected to, then it leads to a ton of disappointment, not only for the team itself, but for fans watching as well. This brings us to the topic of today's video, where we'll be discussing 5 star NBA players in particular who disappointed everyone in the playoffs this year, because they performed well below not only the level that they're expected to perform at, but also how we all know they're capable of performing. Their performances held their teams back this season, and unfortunately it needs to be discussed. Before we start though, it turns out about 61% of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so please, if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but I'd also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first player we'll be discussing is the man who probably came to everyone's mind when they clicked on this video and saw the topic, being Ben Simmons of the Philadelphia 76ers. Simmons' skill set is pretty unique compared to most of the other top tier players in the league, but with it has also come plenty of criticism over the years. He notoriously avoids taking perimeter jumpers in order to focus more on getting high quality shots instead for others, and his work as an elite defender and quality passer and playmaker have made up for it for the most part in regular seasons. The problem this year though is that he basically abandoned trying to score the ball at all, and rarely even looked at the rim with the intention of taking a shot. He also set the record for the worst free throw percentage in NBA playoff history, so even on the opportunities for free points, he squandered the opportunities, and ultimately it didn't matter where else he contributed positively because those glaring struggles are what stuck out the most with him. He was rendered useless for large parts of the fourth quarters of the series because the team didn't want the ball in his hands for the risk of him missing foul shots, and even though it's not fair at all to place the entire blame on him for the Sixers' early exit, he is certainly someone who will get a lot of it. He will need to go into this offseason and completely change his outlook on the way that he approaches the game, because his lack of assertiveness has never reached this low of a level, and the Sixers need more out of him desperately. The next player we'll be discussing that disappointed everyone this postseason is Kristaps Porzingis of the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks started the postseason on a tear, going up 2-0 on the Los Angeles Clippers in the first round, and at that point, it really looked like they could be one of the surprising teams of the playoffs to make a deep run. Luka Doncic was firing on all cylinders, Tim Hardaway Jr. was stepping up his game, and overall they were in a good spot, but the Clippers were able to come back and take the series in 7 games, and a big reason why was the team's supposed number 2 option performed well below what was expected of him. Porzingis had a pretty solid regular season this year, averaging about 20 points per game while shooting it efficiently at 48% from the field and 38% from 3. The Mavericks needed him to give them that level of production in the playoffs in order to advance, but he just looked like a total shell of himself the entire series. In the 7 games, he only scored 20 points 1 time. He scored in single digits in 3 of the 7 games, and there was just a total lack of assertiveness and aggression from him all series long. He would disappear at times, failing to get involved at all with the offense. He struggled to take advantage of mismatches with his size, and his shot just wasn't falling when he got good looks to shoot it. Whether or not he's a legitimate sidekick for Luka Doncic is a serious question the Mavericks need to figure out this offseason, and if he's not, then he may be on the move soon. The next player that disappointed quite a bit this postseason is Rudy Gobert of the Utah Jazz. Gobert's won this year's Defensive Player of the Year award, making it the 3rd time he's taken home the award, yet once again, the Jazz find themselves headed home early because in a pivotal game, his ability to make impactful plays on defense became a bit suspect. The Clippers brilliantly resorted to playing small ball against the Jazz in Game 6 of the second round, and with all of the spacing on the perimeter, Gobert was taken advantage of. He tried his hardest to stay in the paint and protect the rim, but the Clippers always found the open man, which happened to, more often than not, be Terrence Mann a lot of the time, and the reasoning for shooters like Mann being open so often was because Rudy was not able to hold his own out on the perimeter. He had the worst plus-minus on the Jazz in that deciding Game 6, which illustrates how successful the Clippers were in attacking him and forcing him to be in uncomfortable situations that he struggled with, and then they capitalized on those situations regularly. Gobert is without question an incredible rim protector, but you simply can't ignore how many times in his career he's been played off the floor in the playoffs, and since he now has 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards to his name, we can no longer ignore this elephant in the room. The next player up who disappointed in the postseason is Julius Randle of the New York Knicks. Randle was one of the feel-good stories of the season as he emerged from being a guy who struggled to impact winning basketball with questionable decision-making and efficiency in the past to seemingly becoming a true #1 option on a playoff team this year. He was named second-team All-NBA, he won the Most Improved Player of the Year award, he was named an All-Star, and he genuinely played some amazing basketball throughout the entirety of the regular season. His jumper was falling at a much more reliable rate than in the past, his ability to bully defenders around the rim became a staple of the Knicks' offense, and he got the Knicks a top 4 seed in the East this season. With all of that being said though, the playoffs proved to be a totally different beast, and he seemed to revert back to the Julius Randle of old. In the first round series against the Atlanta Hawks, he didn't shoot over 40% from the field in a single one of the 5 games played, he shot below 30% from the field in the series as a whole, and he quite simply had the worst playoff performance of any #1 option in the playoffs this year. His shot selection at times was suspect, he shot the team out of several games, and the pressure of the playoffs just seemed to overwhelm him. It's unfortunate because before this, he was flying high, playing with more confidence than ever, but it's impossible to ignore how bad his showing was when it mattered most. And finally, the last player that disappointed in the playoffs this year was CJ McCollum of the Portland Trail Blazers. McCollum's disappointment isn't necessarily on the same level as a lot of the other players discussed in this video, but the Blazers did have a good chance to make a run in the playoffs, having faced off against a Nuggets team without Jamal Murray in the first round, and they squandered it in large part because McCollum couldn't give Damian Lillard the level of help that he needed. The game that sticks out the most from that series is when Damian Lillard scored a ridiculous 55 points in Game 5, but they ended up losing in overtime because McCollum shot the ball 7 of 22 and missed countless quality shots down the stretch of that game. That game gave the Nuggets a 3-2 series lead, and it sucked all of the momentum out of the Blazers as they would go on to be eliminated in Game 6. The Lillard and McCollum pairing has been together for quite some time now, and they've only managed one deep run in the playoffs together, with almost every other year resulting in a first-round exit, so don't be surprised at all if the Blazers try to shake things up this offseason. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below who you think disappointed the most this season. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.